Welcome to the Look Scene series. This series will have dead times, not so accurate post production, and a lot of backtracking. This series is meant to be a deep lore analysis and 100% completion of the game. Thanks for your attention. Lasciate ogni speranza, voi che entrate. Hi guys, welcome back to Dante's Hell. I'm Dante or Jack, and we are back in Lux in Morthus Spathium. Last episode was a bit rusty, but now we are recording consecutively, and so we are charged, we are ready, and we are running out of plasma cutter energy. But that should be enough for reaching and killing the last Wheezers we are missing. Our objective is to gain access to the food storage, but to do so, we need to kill the last two remaining Wheezers, one of which we saw is stuck under a barricade in the lower space of this side of hydroponics, where the corruption, as you can see, has clearly spread around massively, while the other room is almost completely clean. Here, the corruption has reached dangerous levels. These holes, we know, are the sign that a drug tentacle is around. And that is exactly what is attacking us. There it is. Thank God we have our plasma cutter. Of course, if I can aim properly, maybe I can save me. Or we will die to this. I am not dying to a drug tentacle. Come on. Thank God. The problem with these things is, in the original, at least they dropped something. But now in the remake, they are just here to annoy you. And as I told you when we first met one and read about them, this is the second one we meet.
That's the repair mission, they said. Not this. Not seeing my dead brother on the fucking camera. All this death. Imagine what the marker could do in the wrong hands.
This is about CEC again.
Just thinking. If some corporate asshole tries to take the marker, you and me could do something about it.
You're leaning pretty hard on that if.
Oh, come on. Where's Hammond? What's he doing?
I don't know. If I don't focus, we'll run out of air before it matters.
I love how Isaac basically tells Kendra to shut the hell up. And in the original, we all wanted to tell her to quit yapping about what Hammond was doing. We do not care at the moment. We are surrounded by necromorphs. We are going around a broke down ship, trying to fix all the problems and sabotages that some idiot did, probably to prevent Mercer from doing anything stupid, because we heard Mercer saying that he wanted to bring these necromorphs back to Earth, and the only thing she can think about is the fact that Hammond isn't around to listen to her. In the original game, she was so much more insistent on that thing. She just kept on and on about the fact that Hammond was the bad one. It is quite, makes you think, why is she like this? What did Hammond do to deserve to be treated like that? And this room, I swear to God, always makes me feel like I'm completely dumb and don't know where I'm going. Even though I probably do know where I'm going. Nope, nope, nope. Please don't. I'm not dying because I get shocked by one of those. Come on. Dangerous. in one of these little spaces, there's actually, and there it is. This is what we're looking for. A schematic that we need. Because all schematics are required, of course. If you want to have the ammunition available to you to buy. Because if you don't find all the schematics, you probably find yourself without ammo for some specific gun. For example, we still don't know where the line gun ammunition is. And I don't remember exactly where to find that schematic. I remember it being on some sort of box, maybe? Or something? I don't remember exactly. Now I waited too long. And we need to wait again before we can move on. And I hear a leaper? Maybe? Or something? Let's stasis it again. And let's move on. Oh no, it's not a... Oh well. Yep, that damage, that is, there you are. There is. Let's cut off the tail, shall we? See? Always aim for the tail. If you have the chance, just shoot him in the tail. They are going to die one shot. We are having a problem because we are losing a lot of health. Turn off turbine. Yes. Easier to move around. Very much easier. Turbo Annex. Filtration. This is one of the worst parts in the original. Because of the problem people had while trying to reach the other side without taking on fire. And I actually need to blow my nose. Wait a second. Okay. Nose has been blown. Ready to get back to commission. As I said, in this episode, there's not exactly too much to talk about. Because all we know is that now the problem is the Leviathan in the food storage. That is corrupting everything that is available. So the hydroponics, that is where most of the food and oxygen is produced, because, you know, they grow plants here and they use them to provide oxygen to the rest of the ship, is basically on his way to completely dying because of the fact that this Leviathan has presented itself inside the food storage room after we heard the log. Okay, we heard the log where Dr. Cross told us that something boarded the ship from the outside. So most possibly the Leviathan wasn't inside the ship, but just grappled onto it while maybe floating into space. How did it get into space? It is never actually said. And where did it come from? I and many of the other Dead Space players basically think that the Leviathan has come from the colony, and that is the most possible, you know, thing, because on the colony we know there were a lot of people, and to reach the mass of the Leviathan that maybe wasn't even as big as they tell us in when we reach it, because when we reach food storage they tell us that it has a big mass. It is quite the heavy thing. We don't know if it was that heavy when it reached the Ishimura. Maybe it was a lot smaller and then it got to the size that it is right now by assimilating all the food that was in storage, because we know that there was a surplus of food. This manual is open to a chapter entitled Thermodynamic Purifiers, Maintenance and Upkeep. The notes section has been expanded with: pulled out the regulators from the purifiers and cranked them up as high as they go. Fucking crazy, but all I can do. It should burn off at least some of the gas, I think. Fuck, I don't know. I have to try anything. Seeing Hidaka puke up her own lungs. Deleted. I can't. That can't be me. Oh God, help us. They started to try to do everything, anything and everything, basically to try and deter this problem that was starting to be the presence of this gas in hydroponics. Well, the only thing possible was to kill these. And so, as Cross said, making the Leviathan weaker so that it could be attacked and sent into space. Aren't you quite fast? This is a form of necromorph, the infected kind. Basically, is the one created from the infectors, and they look a lot different from the ones that are just infected from the transformation, because the ones with the transformation have a pinker skin. They look a lot less greenish and dead, and I think the reason for this change is that in the original this is awesome. The Twinkle Twinkle Little Star that made that original trailer of Dead Space the best thing in the world. And it's just in the elevator. They actually remade that trailer with scenes from the remake. They posted, Motive Studio posted it on Twitter, and it was beautiful. It was so good. It was so good.
I need you. Help me.
Again, Nicole has so much more screen time in the remake. And we finally got around to reach the last of the Wheezers. 8 Wheezers have now been dealt with. No more Wheezers.
They're at peace. Thank you. The Leviathan's metabolism is slowing.
Cross, something's up.
It must have worked. You gave it enough enzyme to dissolve a freighter. Okay, I'm unlocking food storage. Quickly get back there and space the bastard while we have the chance.
Inject Wheezer 08 has been completed. Objective cleared. Now we just need access to food storage. And that is the easiest thing. We just need to go right back and get ourselves into food storage. That side didn't clear, but now the door is. So we can go into 0G and move on without having to deal with almost anything else. Just get back. Wrong side. Great job, me. And thank you, Isaac, for telling me that this is the wrong side. And we have to get ready for our first actual boss fight of the game. This time for real. Let's try not to get ourselves killed before we even get to the Leviathan. And let's try to see how the fight with the Leviathan has changed from the original game. Because there was no 0G controls in the original. You could only jump. But now you have free moving ability when you are in the 0G environment, making the fight possibly a lot more interesting. That was loud. Thankfully, food storage isn't that far, and as things stand, I think we are good to actually do kill the Leviathan before we do anything else. So let's get ready. Let's go to the shop and buy ourselves all the ammunition we need before going straight into the demon's lair and killing the Leviathan without having a problem. Okay, we have filled up on ammunition. Let's save and get ready to go straight into the Leviathan's den in food storage. Of course, we will read about the Leviathan after we are done with the fight. Eject the Leviathan into space. Let's see. Cross says the Leviathan is weak enough to be flushed into space. Time to return to food storage and give it a shot. So no fighting. Perhaps this time around. Just a control panel telling us initiate airlock release.
Contamination detected in food storage. Cycling airlock. Damn it! The airlock's open, but the Leviathan's too strong. It's clinging to the interior of food storage. We need more enzyme.
There's no time. I'm going in. Maybe I can cut it loose.
The Leviathan has a 10 kiloton mass. Do you really need me to tell you this is a bad idea?
Well, I'm all out of good ideas, so guess what's left?
I am so happy they made Isaac talk. The fact that he just talks back to these absolute idiots. Do I need to tell you that he's dangerous? No, I don't need you to tell me, but I'm out of ideas, so that's the only thing we have left, and I'm going to do it. The objective is now kill the Leviathan. The enzyme wasn't enough, but we are out of time. We need to eject the Leviathan out of food storage now, even if I have to cut it apart. And look at this beautiful scenario. Look at how beautiful it is. Absolutely stunning. It is absolutely beautiful. And while the presentation of the Leviathan in the original was good, because the room was completely kind of a red, and then it lights up and you see the Leviathan, now it's so black. And as you move, then you just get presented with this horrible thing. Look at him. That is a big necromorph. That is a scary and dangerous necromorph. And it is actually quite dangerous as well to kill. Do not trust people that tell you that he's easy to kill. He is quite dangerous, even with the new controls in the remake. He can be quite the sore thing to deal with. No matter the difficulty you're playing at. Even in hard, it made me have some kind of problem with it. Because his tentacles just move so differently now that it has changed the commands in 0G. The original, it was completely another thing. Because now the entire room shakes and it is a problem. And while in the original you could just jump around and make it so you don't have to deal with all the problems because the tentacles slapped on the ground and you could move around and jump over them. Now you can't do that. You need to deal with the fact that the Leviathan actually can eat you mid-air and his tentacles will start to actually take aim at some point, and this is just beautiful. The lights that go completely out and then you have to shoot it into the mouth. Apart from the fact that it looks stunning. Look at it in the remake. That is a scary, bad thing. That is a scary monster. Unlike in the original where it looked like basically a bat with some tentacles on it. And now it's this spider, webby monster with tissue all around it. And now we have the problem of the gas release from the creature himself.
It must be close. Isaac, finish it off.
And this thing actually has good aim. Don't look at him like that. He actually has quite the aiming arm at shooting those little baggy things. And I'm hoping that my oxygen lasts, because I don't have a oxygen tank on me. So I do need to deal with him quite fast. Or reach that... this is just...
Toxic hazard cleared.
And the Leviathan fight is done.
And lo, you crushed the heads of Leviathan. He will be meat for those in the wilderness. Thank you, Isaac. Come back inside. We should talk.
And that was a passage, a citation to the Leviathan that was in the Bible. Because Leviathan is the name of the huge fish or whale that swallowed Jonah. And that phrase that Elizabeth said is actually a part or a phrase that is said about said Leviathan.
There's still pockets of gas trapped here and there.
Here and there, I can handle.
Listen, Jacob. My Jacob. Last I heard, he was on the mining deck with some other survivors. He said they were building an SOS beacon.
Did they finish it?
He said it was nearly done, but I haven't heard from him in a while. I can't leave yet. I need to make sure the air is safe to breathe. But if you can find that SOS beacon, call for rescue.
I will. Mining deck. Okay, got it. And if I meet Jacob?
Tell him I'll find him. He's all I want to see.
An SOS beacon. Someone jettisoned all the others. Isaac, there's a shortcut to the mining deck. Near Cross's workstation. I'll get it open. Goddamn. We might actually get out of this nightmare.
Chapter 6, Environmental Hazard, is completed, and now Chapter 7, Into the Void, starts. Go to the mining deck. Cross says there's an SOS beacon on the mining deck. It's a chance for rescue. But even if we send out a distress signal, would it be close enough to this system to hear it? But as I said, we will stop right here at the end of Chapter 6. And I will take a break from playing all this Dead Space. In fact, I'm taking a break from uploading, but not from recording. So I will be recording still quite a bit. While I say that, we managed to kill the Leviathan. And that means we can read something on this creature. There's not actually a lot to know about the Leviathan. It is a boss, the first one you meet in the series, and the first in the Dead Space, both original and remake. The Leviathan has a single mouth and 3 holes from which drag tentacles, the same that drag Isaac around on the Ishimura, sprout from and are used to attack. The Leviathan collided with the USG Ishimura while drifting through space, and this we know because we heard Cross's call to security telling that something went and attached itself to the ship from the exterior and got into food storage. It made its way into the hydroponics deck of the ship and barricaded itself inside the food storage facility. It chose to go into the food storage because it was full of biological mass or food. And it used that food to make itself bigger and grow stronger because, as I told you, Necromorphs absorb every kind of biological living mass. So if they collected especially fruit and vegetables and plants, the Leviathan could use it to become bigger and stronger. Shortly after, the tracks of the corruption began to spread at an exponential rate in close proximity to the Leviathan and proceeded to overtake much of the deck. The deck, as we saw, was especially corrupted on the right side, while the left side was a lot more cleaner, meaning that the Leviathan probably didn't get on the Ishimura too long before the Kellion arrived. So the Kellion arrived and the Leviathan had started, yes, probably already had a couple hours to start the infection, but it didn't get completely, let's say, finished, because it didn't reach all the way the other side of the hydroponics deck. The shipboard oxygen levels became critical as a result, and with the creation of poison-executing necromorphs known as the Wheezers, that we already talked about in the previous episode, the hydroponics deck became unable to support human life. A crew member encountered the beast and dubbed it with its name. At least in the original, you find a log that tells you what happened, and this person, this crew member, gets inside and tells you, okay, this is the Leviathan. It is a huge creature, and you find it right outside food storage. You see a log, and the guy says huge creatures, and he calls it the Leviathan. While we talk, let's grab ourselves that upgrade for the force gun. There it is. Let's buy it, and let's buy, let's say, like 10 nodes. Bring them to the shop, to the bench on the other side of the sprinklers, and upgrade the weapon. And this guy found the Leviathan, dubbed it with its name, and then got killed, because you find the body right near the audio log. Now we have to go to the mining deck, meaning that the next part will probably also have the side missions of Nicole and the Anther, giving us space to a lot more talk. This chapter, chapter 6, is basically the end of the tutorial. It's time to get serious of the Dead Space, because they put you in a situation where you fought your first boss. We basically met all forms of necromorph, apart from, I think, one, and another special thing that I can't spoil. You know, it's the final boss. It can't just be, it's this. No. And then we have the entire cast, basically. We met Miss Cross, that was not as fundamental. She wasn't seen in the original game. So we met her. We don't know of Jacob, but maybe we will meet him too. And we met both Mercer, and sounds like Nicole is trying to reach to us, trying with communication, to try and find a solution to these problems. She keeps asking for help and things like that. Things that didn't happen in the original game. So, the force gun has been upgraded, and while we go back to save, now it's time for me to take this week of not uploading up, so I can bring myself forward with a couple things, and I can have the time to kind of blow down with other stuff. So, this episode is a bit shorter, but it is a transition episode, basically, from chapter 6 to the last 6 chapters. We did the first chapters that were introduction, basically. We got to talk about all the necromorphs, all the cast of characters. We talked about Matthias, the Chen, Hammond, and everyone else. And we also got all the weapons available in the game, so now we have our full arsenal. I am going to work to power them all up, so we are strong and powerful for the end game. And now we stop for a week in which you will not see what happens, but I will keep going recording and editing. And then from 7 to 12, we are going right into the theory. There's not much to read, so we will need to go completely on theories and things like that. So if we find some logs or things or a piece of writing on the wall that says a specific thing, we need to go through with it, analyze it, and then talk about it, because the reading part is basically done. All the introductions and the monsters, the characters, the cast is basically complete apart from one or two characters. And now we can go ahead. But before I bore you to death, as I always say, thanks so much for watching, Elgads, and I'll see you all again quando torneremo a guardare le stelle. See you for the main part of Lux in Motu Spazio.